All right, I believe we are live.
Exciting times.
The setup looks a little bit like this is Brimstone Action News. This just in, Void Twister. But no, it's not a Void Twister, is it? It's Black Friday.
You got to wait for the Hell Train to really get hit by Void Twisters.
All right. It looks like we've been seeing some of the comments before we went live. It looks like people are sounding off from all over the globe. Thank you guys for joining us so much. I see Andrea Florio is saying hi to us from Japan.
Yeah, it looks like we have somebody from Squim over there as well.
That's right.
That was crazy.
Squim, Washington, been there. Luke Evans in Scotland. Thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate it. Obviously, we can't choose a perfect time that works for everybody. We instead choose to do it as almost like a tailgate party leading up to the midnight launch of the Black Friday sale. So this is going to go 10 to midnight-ish. Obviously, we'll go into the launch of the sale and then kind of make sure that nothing's, blowing up or not working or something like that with the sale. Get feedback and we take Q&A and stuff, and then end there. But we can't end until we begin. So let's begin at the beginning.
So we can end.
Yeah. So we basically put together a slideshow that we're going to go through and talk about all the new items that we have for the Black Friday sale. We're going to start with some of the new items that we debuted at Dice Fest. Because we didn't do a Dice Fest live stream, this is our chance to talk about what those items are, and a lot of people didn't make it to Dice Fest, and so maybe didn't see our presentation, the Flying Frog center stage presentation on like new stuff. We're not going to be doing, we gave a pretty big, preview of Perilous Expeditions at Dice Fest, but this isn't that. This is mostly going to focus on new items. Yeah. But of course, we're going to do a Q&A, and we can answer whatever questions about all those good things. So why don't we start with the slideshow, and we'll jump right into this and talk about some of the things from the Black Friday sale. And we're going to start, like I said, with stuff from that was already released at Dice Fest, which actually was not too long ago.
That's true.
Earlier this same month, which is craziness.
The first.
Well, yes.
Second and third.
We're at the two ends of the month, Dice Fest, and where we are now. But that's how it works. Actually, maybe we should say hi to some people, since a lot of people are sounding off right now before we start the slideshow. So let's see. Steven Hernandez says Dice Fest was the best. Steven Hernandez, it was great to see you at Dice Fest. We had such a good time, and you were a big part of that. So thanks for coming out. Thanks everybody who made it out to Dice Fest. We had people from all over the place. Australia, Germany, the UK, Sweden, Canada, everywhere. And all over the U.S., all over the place. It was really touching that people would make that their big vacation for the year. A lot of people, that's what they did, and that's really cool.
And to come out and join us for the party that is Dice Fest.
That's true. Sharky1337 says definitely snatching the one-shot pack this time. We can talk about that. Ditto on the one-shot. Paul Wilson is here, although he went off the screen before I could see his comment.
He says he thinks his feed is being weird because it looks like you're speaking a different language and the English is dubbed over because the video and sound aren't synced. Is anybody else having syncing issues with video and sound?
I guess we'll find out in the comments. Damiano Russo from Mexico is here. Luke Evans says it sounds like a mutation on Paul Wilson's end. So it's good to hear at least that it's not symptomatic. So I saw a bunch of yeses. Does that mean yes? A little out of sync on Twitch. So it might be what they're looking at. So we use a program called Restream, and it allows us to take the feed and instantly restream it out to multiple platforms. And that's what's allowing us to do the kind of simulcast on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. But it's possible that as it's restreaming, some of them are somehow a little bit laggy, behind others. We'll see. Yeah, it looks like some other people are seeing it as well. I see a hello from Italy. Nothing wrong with the YouTube feed, but there is a little bit on Twitch, it looks like. Brian Aslan said.
Looks like there's some people
YouTube
on
is
each
slightly
platform.
delayed. Yeah.
It's interesting, though, that some people have the delay and some people don't,
even though
within
it's the same platform. Yeah. Well, we'll see. All right. Well, yeah. I don't know that there's anything we can do about the different combos of platforms and people's individual PCs and all that stuff. But we are using a new sound system tonight with these new lavalier mics that are actually, they're pretty cool. They use magnets to hold it on here, and hopefully it'll have some good sound. Tyson points out, if we talk over slides, it won't matter anyway, which we will be doing a bit of.
Yes, for everyone else, you get
Belgium.
the anime dub.
That's right.
Is what it says.
Your kung fu is quite strong. We just need to say things like that. All right, well, let's start the actual slideshow here.
Sure.
Back to us and see if the audio goes back on. Maybe it's tied to it somehow.
That would be especially ironic, since
It is.
Can you guys hear us now? Audio is back. They failed their mic check. Now they face a cliffhanger.
yeah,
Jason, you need to exert.
yeah.
So we're gonna try going back to the slideshow, and we'll see if we can maintain sound. Here we go. Here we go. All right, can you hear us while seeing the slides? All right, people are saying that they can hear us.
Unless there's a delay.
Well, I mean, we'll see. All right.
Yeah. All right. Excellent.
August says it's working, so we know it's working. Okay, so Black Friday sale, like I said, November 28th through December 6th. As we often do with these sales, each order of $100 or more gets these 2 promo cards. These are brand new ones for the Black Friday sale. We like to make sure that we have some really exciting ones that are unique to this that no one's ever seen before. And this year we've got some really good ones.
Yeah, I think people are really going to enjoy these 2 new promos. They're a little bit different. They're a little bit wacky, a little bit different than what you have seen in the past. Having a darkness card where there's a vampire that's been hunting you, and if he makes you crazy, then he actually will bite you outside of a fight. because he's kind of hunting you down. And then the steel lockbox is it's a gear, but you can use a couple of grit to open it, and you roll a d8 on this little chart on the card, and it either could be on a low roll, like on a 1. It's a trap that blows up in your face. That's no good. But on anything else, it's going to give you a big payout, a much bigger payout than you would normally get on a gear card. So everything from 2 to 5 being get D6 side bag tokens. 6 to 7 is it's loaded, so you get to draw D6 loot cards. And if you roll an 8, you get to draw 2 gear and an artifact card in the steel lockbox.
I see what's happening here. You've done so many promo cards at this point that you're making each promo card a small expansion. A micro expansion, if you will.
Well, the idea was to just do something a little bit different and a little bit crazier for those promos.
A little bit unexpected.
A little bit unexpected. A little bit juicier.
Schrodinger's lockbox, Nathan Jepson says.
And of course, it's a chart on the card, so there's no using grit, as you should know.
Jason is now providing FAQ for in real time for the cards that people have just seen for the first time and don't even have. All right, let's move on in the slideshow, and we're going to talk about one of the new items that we released at Dice Fest that people were very excited about, and of course we're talking about the One Shot. So the One Shot card set. This is something we actually talked about doing for a long time. When we, when we run demos of Shadows of Brimstone at conventions, it can be tough because it doesn't mean as much if you're not playing in a campaign. You're doing this one-off game. You're probably never going to use these characters again. You're never going to get a chance to go to town. You're just playing one adventure. And the downside of a just one-shot adventure is that, every time you scavenge or get loot, it's not as meaningful because you don't really have the chance to spend that gold or Darkstone that you find or that kind of thing. So we've talked about what if we made a special set of cards with an alternate scavenge deck, alternate loot deck that are used when we're playing demos at Dice Fest or Gen Con or any of the conventions that we go to. It seems like it would make it more fun for the players that are just playing in this one-shot adventure. And then when we started looking at that, we thought, there's a lot of people that don't play campaigns, and they might just want to play a one-off adventure where this would actually be useful at home, not just at a convention.
Well, it also works really well for like showing new players the game,
right?
Doing in-store games where maybe you go and meet up with some people and just play some one-shots, or at a convention.
Or set up in a store on a Saturday and show people
just run through
the Brimstone.
Different one-off games. Gives people a little bit of a taste of getting to do the town experience and all of that, and getting a little bit more loot than you'd normally get because of the new loot and scavenge decks, the one-shot loot and one-shot scavenge decks that are included in it. Has a little bit better chance of payouts. You get a better chance of drawing gear and artifacts. So in the little rules card for it does specifically say, like, this is not intended for campaign play because it'll basically make your heroes overpowered really quick. But I mean, at the same time, if you do have a situation where you're only playing one or two heroes and you're struggling a little bit, or throwing a bunch of expansion enemies in right at the start when you're level 1 heroes, you could always decide if you wanted to just add this in as something to use for a game here or there, with the potential to get a little bit more frequent gear and artifact draws and things like that.
Well, I wanted to touch on the fact that we made this the one-shot card set 2024 edition. So the idea there is, when you go back to the heart of this and the reason why we made it in the first place, you want it to be more entertaining for people in a convention situation where they're just maybe playing a one-off game. And we realized very quickly that this is really cool, but we may want to refresh it over time so that it's not just, people have seen all of the stuff and they already know exactly what to expect. Because part of it is kind of almost a mini town element to it, where you can buy stuff for your characters and use the Darkstone and gold and things that you find. And,
and one of the things that's kind of cool is that it has the one-shot scavenge deck, the one-shot loot deck. It also has the little in-game stores where you can spend your resources.
We can go through those things. We're about to. There's a bunch of slides for it.
Well, there you go.
I was just going to say, we did a 2024 edition, just knowing that in the future we may do refresh it and do a new version, but it's not intended that like each year there will be a new one and you have to buy. Oh, well, I have to get the 2025 and the 2026 and whatever. We may not do another one of these for 5 years or something.
Or ever.
But we wanted to date it so that at least we can establish
stamp.
which one this is.
Yeah, sure.
That's all. All right, so let's go through the slides a little bit and we'll show what these are. I think we're going to start out looking at the one-shot loot.
Yeah, so the one-shot loot deck is pretty cool. It's it's one of the smaller loot decks, so it's got just the 8 cards to it, and it basically kind of rounds everything off a little bit. So the Darkstone that you get, the gold that you get, are in more easy to digest, simple values, so that you can just have counters for them for 50, 100, 200, and Darkstone is 1 or 2. So there's not a lot of like variable rolling for it, just to speed things up, but it also gives you those more even numbers, and then it has some new cards in as well, like helpful supplies gives you a starting side bag token, and the golden statue gives you 50 gold, but also recover a grit. And in that 8 cards, there is one of the cards is just draw a gear card. This is handy. And another one is Great Find, which is draw an artifact card. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you can see right there alone, out of an 8-card deck, having one of them be a gear and one of them be an artifact is already a much higher probability of getting cool loot drops, that are kind of permanent things, as opposed to just gold or Darkstone or whatnot.
So Luke Evans says it sounds a little bit like a random 7-Eleven popping up in the mine or wherever you're at, where you can buy stuff. Thomas Gonzalez says the one-shot deck is so great, which, it is weird. We're talking about it, explaining it, but some people already have it and have been playing games with it.
And people got to play a lot of games with it at Dice Fest, because we were using it on all of the different 3D tables that we had throughout the show. So that was pretty cool to be able to let people get kind of hands-on experience with it.
Hans House says, if you did put one set out each year, I would totally buy it. Shut up and take my money. Tony Bixler replies to Luke Evans and says, if it's a 7-Eleven, you'll need to make a custom Slurpee gear card. Yes.
That might be an artifact. I don't
Maybe Darkstone salmon flavored Slurpee. Or maybe some mummy juice.
Yeah. Frozen mummy juice?
Yeah, frozen mummy juice.
All right, well, why don't we spin on to, there's probably a
Cam
scavenge.
Stanchfield says, what is the cost of it? It is $20. There was a glitch when we launched it on the web store during Dice Fest where it was accidentally put in as 10. And so the first, I don't know how many people, 100 people or something got it at $10. So in case there's confusion and people are like, whoa, wait, when I bought it, it was 10. It was because the wrong price had been put in. And so
it was a special promotional
people just got a special promotional deal. Yeah, the first 100 people get it for half off. Anyway, Void Slurpee, I like it. Okay, so let's move on and we'll look at the scavenge deck. This is the one-shot scavenge, one-shot loot. As Jason alluded to earlier, if you're playing a normal campaign game, you don't want to be using the one-shots, but I will also say you don't want to mix the one-shot scavenge in with your normal scavenge deck. You don't want to mix the one-shot loot.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we specifically gave them a different card back for both the loot deck, the one-shot loot deck and the one-shot scavenge deck, so that if you did accidentally mix them in, it's really easy to separate them, because as soon as you fan out the cards, you'll be like, oh, those ones all say one-shot on them, and the other ones don't.
Gavin Downing says mummy juice Slurpee.
So with the scavenge deck, again, it's an 8-card deck, and it's kind of streamlined a little bit. You'll still see some familiar things. There's a couple of nothing heres. It's not quite as high a percentage as you would normally get of nothing here. There's also a horrifying discovery in there, but you've got some other stuff like a collapse where some of the ceiling caves in on you, or you get a darkness card if you're touched by darkness. There's also Darkstone that you can find, Dead Man's Gear, where you can draw a gear card, but it also gives you 2 corruption hits.
Right.
And then there's Gleam of Light, where you can get a loot card. So it gives you a little bit better payouts for scavenging as well. I mean, there's a little bit of an extra danger to it, but also extra payouts.
High risk, high reward.
Yeah, to make scavenging a little bit more viable and give you a good reason to do it in a one-shot adventure. And again, these aren't intended for campaign play, but if you want to use them for a game here or there, it can be fun to give your heroes a little bit of a boost if you feel like the expansion enemies or whatnot are kind of rolling over you, or if you only have 1 or 2 heroes and you're having a hard time taking down enemies, you can always play a game or two with the one-shot decks to give you a little bit of a boost.
So let's talk about the large cards that come with this set. One-shot upgrades. And we actually have these, a unique one for each of the kind of earth-based genres or themes. So if we show the next slide, I think it starts where we show the mine. And so this is the Old West, the most traditional of Shadows of Brimstone genres. The Old West. And you can see this large card is double-sided. On the slide here, we're showing the front and the back. One thing to note is, while these are themed for each of the different, genres of Shadows of Brimstone, the fronts are different, but all of them have the same back.
Yeah.
So that's the back for all of them.
Yeah, so these are basically like a little in-game store where you can use those resources you've been earning, your Darkstone, your gold, things like that. During your one-shot adventure, you can use it in-game to buy stuff from the in-game store. So it basically gives you the opportunity to get stuff along the way and not have to, wait for the town experience. If you're playing a one-shot, waiting for the town doesn't really help you very much, right? So we wanted to do one of these during mission stores for each of the, like you said, each of the Earth-based sets of heroes. So the idea is that you can have those available to you during the game. Some people have asked why we don't have a Tredaran Strike Team version of this, and the intent was that the Tredaran Strike Team could actually use any of these, or if you want to keep it simple, they just use the Old West ones. You'll notice that the Old West heroes are actually in Tredera. If you look at the image there, you can see they're moving through a trench with barbed wire lining it and Tredaran ruins in the background. So yeah, the idea was that we wanted to keep them kind of Earth-based for the different Earth-based heroes, and because the Tredarans are aliens and kind of anti-heroes, we did not do a special store just for them. But they also travel to whatever world, so it would be pretty easy to just use whatever the in-game store of the world you're currently in is.
So Thomas Gonzalez points out he is the one. He is the one who asked. And then he said he will not stand for this Tredaran disrespect. I think he's representing the Tredarans.
Well, I mean, you may have noticed the Tredaran Strike Team is already quite powerful, so come on. You really need an in-game store too. No, but they can totally use any of the other stores that are there.
There has been some talk, and somebody asks here about the Old West now has an icon.
Yeah, that's true.
When we originally did Shadows of Brimstone, there was only one Earth side, and so it didn't really need an icon to discern it. But when we were putting this set together in particular, it's like we were very specifically showing each of the Earth-based genres, and we realized we should probably have one here so that it balances out with the others. So I just made a new icon and put it on there, but it wasn't meant to send shockwaves through the Brimstone community or anything like that.
Yeah, and there's no real plan to go back and change existing stuff to now have that icon. If there isn't an icon on your cards, it means it's the default Old West stuff. Because all the other ones already have an icon.
So if we spin on to the next slide, we'll show some of the other ones here. Again, all of them have the same back, so we're not going to be showing the back of all of them. Yeah. So here's the fronts for Vikings and Conquistadors.
Brimstone Adventures themed ones. Yeah, so one of the cool things with the store is they all have the same back, like Scott said, but they also all have a unique front. It always has the starting side bag tokens that can be purchased for whatever group of heroes it is, and then a couple of additional options that you can use your resources to get. They're themed for that that genre of heroes, and with those they can it gives you both items that you can get and bonus abilities that you can get, depending on what's available on the card. Some of them are abilities, some of them are items, some of them are upgrades. Like for instance, the Conquistadors have the Feather Plume, where you can attach it to any item, and then it gives you a boost to your armor cover save, or it lets you reroll a willpower save, which is good because Conquistadors are very bad at being corrupted, because their corruption resistance is low, and generally they don't have a very high willpower as it is.
So if
one
we
other
spin
thing
on to the next one,
Yeah.
we'll see the last two,
Yeah.
and then we'll move on to those cards. We have slides for those too. There we go. We've got obviously the feudal Japanese heroes there, and then lo and behold, pulp adventure heroes. And I don't think you mentioned this, but some people might ask, well, wait, what about the Hell Train? But of course, the Hell Train uses the Old West.
Yeah.
But it is cool to see the first in-print Cursed Tombs of Kamentet stuff with the icon and the heroes and all that stuff. It's very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is.
All right, so now that we've shown all the different large cards, you may note that there's some cards that you can actually buy, some items you can buy.
Yeah, I think if you spin to the next slide, we probably have some of those that we can show.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's actually one of the things that's really cool, is that we wanted to make it that this was really easy for new players or players during a tournament or an event or a convention or in-store event could have something to hang on to during the game. So whenever you get one of these upgrades, when you use your resources to get one of these upgrades, we actually have cards that represent all of the different upgrades on this little in-game store. And so, whether it's a Darkstone upgrade that you get and attach to one of your items, or whether it's a new bonus or ability for your character, or a new bonus item that you get, like an amulet or something like that, we have cards to represent all of them. And so this is kind of like a little bit of a taste of what having cards for town items would be like. This is obviously a much smaller set of different items than you'd find across all of the different town stuff. But it is kind of nice to point out that all of the ones that are like Darkstone upgrades, we specifically put in the Darkstone inlay and the Darkstone grip, and they are the same as the ones in town. So these cards can totally be used just for your regular games as well, if you want to use them as cards to represent those Darkstone upgrades that you can get at the blacksmith.
Trigard D says, does this mean there might be town upgrade cards?
It's something that we definitely want to do, but it is just a giant undertaking because of all the art, and all the time that it takes to get all that stuff together and get it in a state that would make sense.
That said, we have started working on the art for it. So
that's true.
It's just more of a background operation.
Yeah, so it'll happen at some point. We just don't know exactly when yet.
All right, so have we...
I think there's one more.
Oh, there's one more slide yeah.
of some of the other stuff.
Look
so
at there.
One of the things that's kind of fun there is that in addition to the things that you can get on the back of the in-game store, there's also the unique ones, and so those cards have the little world icon or genre icon, theme icon, up in the top corner, so you can tell that it's specifically the pulp hero ones, or the Spanish heroes or the Norse heroes, that kind of thing.
Hans House says, "You can do it. Town cards can happen. I believe in you."
Good reinforcement. All right.
I appreciate it.
All right.
All right. So that is the one shot. And next up, we're going to talk about the Ghost of Curly Jones. Ghost of Curly Jones.
The Ghost of Curly Jones. What's that?
The Ghost of Curly Jones. There it is. This is our first ever Shadows of Brimstone Narrative Encounters pack. and you'll see it has a number 1, which one might surmise that there might be more, because if you put a number 1, then certainly there's got to be a number 2. So
Yeah.
Ghost of Curly Jones. Jason's pulling out some Curly Jones material here.
Curly
to
Jones
reference.
material. Yep.
So there we see the cover of the Narrative Encounters pack number 1 with Ghost of Curly Jones. If we go on to the next slide, we'll see that we'll see some of the
How
threat
some of
cards.
the stuff works.
Oh no,
The encounters.
Encounters.
Yeah, so basically the idea for the Ghost of Curly Jones Narrative Encounter Pack was to do something that is kind of similar to a card supplement or a challenge pack, somewhere in between the two, but that specifically is narrative driven and is a single story that you basically play through that you can overlay onto any of the basic mine missions. This is specifically intended for the mines because it's sort of this Old West ghostly prospector that's haunting the mines. You probably could add it to whatever basic missions or other missions you want, but the intent is that it's meant for the mines because that's kind of the story of it. But the idea was to have a set of encounters that are a linear progression of a story and having it branch along the way. And so the encounter set that you get with this pack are actually, say on the back of the encounter cards, the Ghost of Curly Jones. But then it also has a big number code. And so the idea is that you start with these in order, with 1 on top, then 2, 3, 4, 5, all that. And the ones where there's an A and a B version or an ABC version, you basically just line those up underneath. And so as you're playing through the mission, along the way, you're basically triggering these additional encounters to get drawn that are telling the story, this ghost story of the Ghost of Curly Jones, who haunts these mines and tries to drive out people that are searching for his lost gold. So it gives you a kind of a cool narrative experience that you can play through, and a cool new mini boss in the form of the Ghost of Curly Jones. So in the set, you get the set of narrative encounters that you play through. You also get the enemy record sheet and threat cards for the Ghost of Curly Jones, who's a legendary ghostly prospector. And then you get a couple of item cards as well that are kind of themed for the Ghost of Curly Jones.
Well, maybe we should go through the slides for this.
Yeah, sure, let's do it.
So we looked at the encounters. The next slide up will show Curly Jones, the actual enemy record sheet.
And I should say with the narrative encounters, you go through them and basically add them on to the other encounters that you draw during the adventure, or the other things that happen during the adventure. It basically gives you an extra story beat along the way, and some of them have branching choices or branching results. Whether you succeed or fail at one encounter means that, for the next grouping, those cards will specifically say like, oh, if you succeeded at this, go through and take out the 3B card, and if you failed, go through and take out the 3A card. And so it just leaves one of the branches in there, depending on the choices you make or the success and failures that you have during the telling of the story. The other thing that's kind of cool with those is that several of the narrative encounter cards actually, have a narrative moment happen, and then it specifically says, all right, go and read, part 1 of the ghost story that's on the rules sheet. And so it's a 4-part ghost story that kind of has some twists and turns that it tells along the way, as the narrative encounter cards are telling you to read the next section of the ghost story. Okay, so on to the Ghost of Curly Jones himself. So yeah, he's basically like a mini boss. That's this legendary outlaw ghostly prospector. And he has some pretty cool stuff. He has an ethereal form where he can move through other models and he changes targets each turn. And critical hits only reduces defense to 2. Normally he starts the defense 4. He also has Chains of the Damned, where he'll actually use the chains that bind him to fling them out and ensnare the heroes and kind of pull them in towards him. And then he has Greed from the Grave, where his melee to hit rolls of 6+ are actually greed hits. And those greed hits ignore defense unless the hero pays 200 gold. So you basically have to throw gold at him to to get him to not whack you over the head even harder with his ghostly pickaxe. But he's a pretty fun enemy to fight, and it's always good having new kind of mini-boss characters.
Makes me think of Minor 49ers from Scooby-Doo.
Oh, yes.
It's very much along
yes.
those lines. Also, these guys have just gone on a total tangent of a Three Stooges encounter pack with Larry and Moe to join Curly.
Yeah.
And instead of Darkstone, it's fueled by Nyukstone.
All right.
Someone else also earlier was saying that every time we say Curly Jones, they just hear Adam Sandler's Slappy Joe's. Curly Jones, Curly Jones.
It's true.
Yeah.
He is nothing like a lunch lady. I'll
Nope.
tell you that. So on the next slide over there, I think we show some of the threat cards. And so the threat cards for Curly Jones are pretty cool. The low and the medium ones are actually a confrontation with the ghost. And it's kind of along the same thematic lines as the Undead Gunslinger, where he comes out and instead of having a shootout with you, like a quick draw shootout like the Gunslinger does, instead the Ghost of Curly Jones specifically torments each hero in a random order, and you have to make an incredibly difficult skill test to try to overcome and fend off his confrontation attack. And if enough heroes can do it, then you drive him away before any of the other heroes have to fall into the same trap. So it gives you a different type of encounter. Even though it's a threat card, it's not a direct combat. It's instead a kind of battle of wills with Curly Jones. And then the high threat and the epic threat actually do let you have a fight with Curly Jones himself. And in addition, it has you draw an additional threat card that is a spectral threat. So basically the Ghost of Curly Jones comes out to attack you, but he's leading some other ghostly enemies.
I love that because when you're playing with it, you get weird combos.
Oh, yeah.
Where you have like ghostly stranglers.
Yeah, or ghostly
things
serpent
like that.
man,
Yeah.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah. It is I, Curly Jones, and my band of ghostly slashers, you know.
Curly slashers.
Curly slashers, curly fries.
Actually, really, you could just say Curly's whatever, right?
Brian
Curly's
Aslan
Void
says
Spiders.
ghost tank.
Yeah, the ghost tank would be pretty amazing. Now, there's a Scooby-Doo
You know,
episode.
yeah, this is okay. It hasn't been out that long, but some people have gotten Curly Jones, and some people have played with Curly Jones. Is anyone here, can they sound off with anything that they had fought ghosts of? Because it may have already happened.
It's true.
We'll watch the comments. Anyway.
Yeah, and so it gives you some good options for some fights.
So
and
we can move on to the next slide and take a look at the...
Well, before we go to the last one, I just would point out that the item that comes with this set is also an artifact, a mine artifact, that's a bottle of Curly's finest. So that's basically something that's from the ghost story, is that Curly Jones loves his whiskey, and this is a little bit of a nod towards the ghost story.
Yes.
But I will say no more. You must play through it and discover the ghost story for yourself. All right, so if we spin on, I think we can check out the next.
Boy, Dwayne Swigert says flesh drones and lanterns. You had ghosts of flesh drones? That's actually pretty amazing.
Ghostly Chachina.
Well, I mean, I think that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Ghostly tentacles. I like that too.
Nice.
All right, so let's go on to the next slide, and we'll take a look. Oh, you know what? That is the last of the Curly Jones ones.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I thought there was a slide that showed
going on to the
some of those
Flooded Marshes.
Flooded Marshes. So the Flooded Marshes is a new card supplement for Dark Gothic. And, I realized this week for the first time that we've done 11. This is the 11th card supplement for Dark Gothic, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But, with a card game like Dark Gothic, you want to have kind of frequent
I mean, it's
boosts of new cards.
It's a
coming
fast
into it.
and fun game, and having those little injections of new thematic cards that you can drop in, totally changes the kind of stuff that you see in the game.
Do you want to just talk about, there's some new mechanics in Flooded Marshes?
There are. So one of the things that's kind of cool is there's a new type of special location that can come out that are the Flooded Marsh location. And it basically adds a little element of danger to to the other cards that are in the Flooded Marshes. So similar to the Deadly Fields supplement that we did for Dark Gothic, the Flooded Marshes are the special location that sits just under the center line of cards that you're buying stuff from during the game, and it modifies the 3 cards above it, the one directly above and the one diagonally above to each side.
Leo says, I'd like to see a Dark Gothic playmat someday.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
As would I. As would I.
Yeah, and now it's potentially possible since we've made and released some playmats.
So you know what's ridiculous? When I first saw that comment, I was like, we have a Dark Gothic playmat because Jason for Christmas a few years ago just made me, because I play Dark Gothic a lot, he made me a custom, they have places you can just put art and get a custom playmat made, and he made me a custom playmat of Dark Gothic. So I've actually been playing with a Dark Gothic playmat for years, and I forgot that that's not an official one. But yeah, it's one we should do because I think people would love it.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And then the other thing that the set has, it's got new minions, new allies, new gear cards, and events. And these are all cards. The way Dark Gothic plays is a deck building game, and so they're cards that all get mixed into the main deck. And then over the course of the game, those cards come out into a line, and you can use the resources in your hand to sort of buy those cards and get them into your deck. But all the cards in this set are basically themed for the kind of spooky flooded marshes toward the south of Shadowbrook, and the different ghosts that haunt that area, as well as the outlaws that kind of
lurk in the marshes.
Lurk in the marshes and in the abandoned keep, which is right next door to the marshes. And one thing that's kind of note is the Spectral Militia card here. It's one of the ones that is not on the screen, but I'm kind of holding it up. Probably can't see that very well. But,
yeah, I mean, it's especially it's on the little
on a tiny screen.
It's in the thumbnail.
Oh, I was just going to say that that image is from A Touch of Evil, but that's actually the very
that image is the image from the Flooded Marshes cover card, so they can see it on the
the Flooded Marshes cover card. Sure.
Yeah.
So that image, just as a bit of trivia, is basically the first ever A Touch of Evil image, if I'm not mistaken. That was the very first one that we put together. That was kind of an initial proof of concept image for A Touch of Evil as a game.
And who's the Ghost Militia, Jason?
Well, the hero there is Victor Danforth, who's the playwright.
That's correct.
And the ghostly militia is, you can't see his face, so I don't know who that is. Could be anybody.
It could be someone in this conversation right now. That's not me.
All right, yes, I was the ghostly militia in that shot. It is true.
Ghost of Jason. Ghost of Curly Jason.
Curly Jason, right? Yeah. Jeez, I knew that was coming.
Ghost of Curly Jason.
I knew that was coming.
All right. And Jim Robinson says, I'm glad we finally learned how to play this game at Dice Fest this year. That is cool. That's what Dice Fest is all about. Playing stuff you know, and then discovering some new stuff. And of course, seeing friends, making friends, having a good time. So let's move on to the next thing. This is something that we did not show in our Dice Fest Center Stage talk, but we did have available for people to buy only in person at Dice Fest. But now for the Black Friday sale, we're putting it up in our store, our web store, and that is a new die-cut token sheet. And this is something Jason's been wanting to do for a while. Jason, do you want to tell them why this has been stewing in your brain?
Yeah, well, so the idea for this token sheet was a little bit ago, maybe a couple years ago, we did some player aid tokens as a token sheet that had a set of gold and a set of experience tokens and things like that, that basically it's enough for one player to keep track of all of their stuff during an adventure. And we have those available on the web store individually, but also in little groups of 4 that you can get. Okay. And so basically I wanted to do kind of another one of those sheets that specifically had a pretty solid set of stat modifiers that you can use for your heroes and for your enemies in game, so that when your character has stat changes mid-game or goes up in level or whatnot, you can basically or enemies get an elite trait or something like that, you can basically put these little stat modifiers over the stats on the enemy record sheet or on your hero character sheet, and so it makes it a lot easier to keep track of what their stats are based on all the different modifiers that come up. And so they're really, really handy to have. And we first introduced those stat modifiers in the Derelict Ship, I want to say. Or no, I'm sorry, Caverns of Cinder. I think it was in Caverns of Cinder.
Maybe. And also, I'm only showing one side of it, but on the other side of all those kind of light green tokens, there's ones that look like the front of the hero record sheet.
The hero stats. So it's really good for, showing stat changes or health or sanity changes, things like that.
But besides that,
they're really handy.
The wounds.
Yeah. In addition to that, I thought it would be really cool to have some slightly larger value wound markers, and in some cases larger size wound markers.
The 25 gets pretty big.
To give you a 10 wound markers and a couple of 25 wound markers. And it just makes it a lot easier to track damage on the bigger enemies that you run into, the big epic monsters. Or if your heroes get totally out of hand, if you're running an Ulfsark Skinwalker or something where you've got a bunch of health, or a sumo, you can use these to mark your hero's health a lot easier. But they work really great for those big enemies. And of course, the 10 wound markers are basically the same size as the 5 wound markers, but for the 25s, we made them even bigger. And
Count Ehrlich says, when do we get the wound 100 tokens? Those would be very large. They're like a coaster.
Those are drink coasters.
That's right.
So,
that could be the coaster for the...
it could be.
Coaster for the, saloon next year.
Yeah. So anyway, it's basically just a sheet that gives you a good set of stat modifier markers and some extra larger wound markers.
Adam Miller says, when would you ever need the 20, 25, and 30 tokens?
It's it's good for health changes and things along those lines. That's kind of the idea. And one of the reasons that it's on even 5s is because there's only so much room to make markers, but it's also pretty easy to drop like the 30 and then add the 7 onto it or the 2 onto it.
I think he's wondering about getting a stat up to that. Like, you've never had a luck 37, Adam? I don't understand.
So all of the skills cap out at 6, but the intent is that you could use the other ones, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 25, 30, for wounds or sanity or things along those lines.
Well, it's also future-proofing, right?
It is future-proofing.
They don't know about the new expansion that's going to really blow the stats out of the water. It's going to be crazy.
All skills can go up to 30.
That's right.
No, that is not the case.
That is not the case. All right. So, Thomas Gonzalez says health or sanity. Yeah. Do we need some sanity markers that go up to 25?
I mean, you could, but I think the 5s will probably get you there since enemies can't.
Just replying.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, since enemies don't take sanity damage currently, you probably don't need 10 and 25 sanity damage markers. Maybe for high-level heroes, level 8 heroes.
Never a luck 37, he says.
They're insane.
All right, so one of the biggest things that we revealed at Dice Fest in the center stage discussion was the Darkstone Magazine. There it is in all its glory. The Darkstone Magazine.
So we should also say that so far what we've talked about covers new items that came out at Dice Fest.
Yeah. So still this month.
still this month, but they're new things that first appeared at Dice Fest that people could get.
Right.
And now we're kind of moving into stuff that is that was not available until tonight at midnight.
And so you mean in the future? Will be available in an hour.
Will be available shortly.
Okay, but also the token sheet that we just talked about, those wounds 25 and all that, that was not available on the web store until it will be tonight in 1 hour.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. All right. So, but it was available in person at Dice Fest. So the magazine is what we're talking about, the Darkstone Magazine. So this all began as a dream. Jason and I grew up on Games Workshop games. We absolutely loved all that. And the magic of getting the new issue of White Dwarf was real. And once a month, you would get this golden White Dwarf, and you would just pour over it, and every page was just like, oh, look at the, oh, and you'd read each article, you'd look at like the painted miniatures, you'd go through, the adventures of other people, like playing their studio battles and stuff like that. You'd look at like, oh, this issue, there's a new article on painting elves or whatever, and it's like. It was so awesome to have a magazine that supported everything that you love about this hobby. Mm-hmm. And so ever since we started doing games, we dreamed of, what if we had like a magazine that was like our version of that was, it just basically every time you'd get an issue, you could pour over it and it has all this new stuff and a lot of discussion and, everything surrounding the games that you love. And so we kicked around this for a long time now. And a few years back, we did a thing called the Brimstone Journal, where we just printed it up and handed it out for free at Gen Con. I don't remember what year that was. It might have been 2018. It was like 2018 or 2019. And so...
with the Lost Marshes, I think.
Yeah, the Lost Marshes were on the cover. And that was like a proof of concept of what it would be like to do a magazine. It was only like 8 pages. And so it was almost like a little test of what it might be like. And it was enough to get us feeling like, ooh, this could be real. We could actually do something like this. And so we've been working on it. Actually, strangely, the pandemic gave a boost to this because in the early days of the pandemic, we very quickly shut the studio down and everybody started working from home. But, we have a business where not a lot of the things can be done remotely. Obviously, we can continue development of, art and design and stuff like that. But a lot of the people in our studio, build things in the warehouse, build orders for the web store and things where they couldn't be here to do that. And so we started working on articles and things where if we could at some point do a magazine that could be worthwhile. And so we actually generated a bunch of like articles and stuff. We started working on stuff back then, and it ended up being collected up and adding to a lot of new stuff and creating the first issue of the Darkstone Magazine. So why don't we first take a look at some of the pages from it. I have a few slides here that show, what it looks like on the inside. Here's some random pages here. This is the table of contents page. And it actually shows there at the bottom left. You can see that this issue includes a 20-inch by 30-inch double-sided poster. And when we finish, we'll pause the slides after a few more slides here, and we actually have copies of the magazine that we can go through and show the actual magazine, show the poster. It also includes 6 game cards that come with it that support the magazine, and these are not promo cards like just random. It's specifically cards that support the articles and features in this magazine. So Tom Coonrat says, looks like it. I see Cartwright. Yes, that is actually from an article that Jason wrote called Connections. It's a feature called Connections. And this particular article is about the Drifter. I think we have a slide with that. We'll flip through a few more of these. Go ahead. There we go. So themed threat decks. This is an article that Jason and I wrote together about... for a long time, people have talked about my threat deck is huge. It's 6 inches tall because I have every threat, that of every enemy pack that I own is in one big stack. And so we've heard comments where people say, well, I just got, whatever, the Scafford Highwayman, but who knows when I'll ever see him because I've got like 600 cards in my threat deck. And I always think, well, you should make like a themed threat deck where, you narrow it down based on whatever story you're going to tell. You can kind of weave a thematic kind of series of games or a campaign. And so we decided, let's write an article about how we would theme threat decks. And we go through kind of a basic way to theme it, a more advanced, and then a very advanced thematic threat deck ideas. And then we actually give some specific recipes for themed threat decks. And so there's 3 recipes in there. We include recipe cards that come with it. And then 2 of these 3 actually have enemy traits, new enemy traits that support those recipes for themed threat decks. So, all right, let's move on, and we'll show some of the other ones. This is Behind the Brush. This is a painting article that Aaron Lovejoy and I put together.
Yeah, so part of the idea here also is that we'd have regular columns, that we could have articles for that column in each issue potentially, or many of the issues.
Yeah.
So, Behind the Brush is one that is specifically about painting and modeling and things like that. That's kind of the idea of the column. And then this particular article is about, what, priming and base coating?
Yes. Yes. We especially talk about Zenithal priming. Thomas White says Cartwright is forever. He's correct.
He's not wrong.
All right. And Hans House says, yes, themed threat decks are the way to go. I like the idea of getting suggestions how to stack them. And Count Ehrlich says, I don't think Aaron primes. He does. I've seen it. All right. So if we spin on, we'll see a few more of these. This is kind of an introduction to the game A Touch of Evil for people that may not have seen it before. So it's a very light article. It just sort of talks about what A Touch of Evil is,
just
and then an overview of the revised edition.
So one of the things that we wanted to make sure was that the Darkstone Magazine does cover, because all of the games that we make take place in the same world, it does cover basically all the games we make. There's definitely, it's heavily weighted towards Shadows of Brimstone, but the intent is to have articles and new material and things like that for all the different games over time.
Yeah. If we flip on, so I should say these are some random pages that I grabbed just to show as examples, but it's not like all the features in it. There's so many articles in this first issue. This one right here is actually a short story that Jason wrote called Journey into Darkness. And I was joking at Dice Fest that if Jason ever decides that he doesn't want to design anymore, he could easily be a professional author because this story is really, really captivating. It's great. Do you have anything to tease them with? A little teaser for this
just that
Journey into Darkness?
It's a short story of a group of Vikings going on the hunt for a legendary beast that's been terrorizing parts of their country, their countryside, their domain, and so they need to go and represent and try to hunt down the beast and find out what's going on.
So let's see if we spin on. I think we have. There's the Connections article that Jason wrote, and this is about, as Jason said, all the games take place in the same world, and the Drifter character has appeared across almost all of our games. So this actually shows callouts where you can see Jake Cartwright, the Drifter, in Last Night on Earth. We've got
Heinrich Cartwright,
in A Touch of Evil, Alexander Cartwright in Fortune and Glory, and then
a Drifter resistance card in Conquest of Planet Earth.
And then, of course, the Drifter
Hero Class.
Class, and then also a specific Drifter called out in, I don't remember if it was City of the Ancients.
I think it's
or Swamps of Death.
I want to say it's the Swamps of Death.
It's one of the core set adventure books.
It's one of the little wanted posters.
And so basically, we show all those pictures and we tie it all together. And this Connections is a regular feature where we're going to sort of, connect the dots between a lot of different, aspects, things that appear in multiples of the games and how they all fit together.
Yeah, and one of the fun things about having a magazine like this is it does give us an opportunity to do introductory articles for different things, but also to do deep dives into things, to expand on the lore, show off, have new artwork, show off a lot of miniature conversions, things like that we can do over time. It gives us a cool new venue to be able to dive into the world that we have.
Andrea Florio says, Jason in the picture there means he's one of the drifters. I don't think that's the most recent photo of you.
You never know.
Jason is forever. All right. Well, so there's one more slide for the magazine, and it shows the magazine itself, the double-sided poster. It shows both sides of the poster, and then the cards that come with it. And so we'll switch now from the slideshow to a live view of us, and we can actually show the magazine because we just got some of the issues in our hot little hands. So, look, these. So the magazine ships in a bag, and it's so that we can have the poster on the back here, and then the game cards inside, and then the magazine right here. It's actually in a resealable poly bag, so you can always put it back in if you want to later to keep it safe. So let's look at the poster first. So we wanted to have kind of different genres on the different sides of the poster and have it be double-sided. So on one side, you've got the mummies from the Cursed Tombs of Kamuntet. This is one of my favorite pictures from the whole Cursed Tombs. And then the other side here is actually from Gates of Valhalla. And it's a little reflective because it's a high quality, pretty heavy paper stock, and a nice varnish coating to it. So this is pretty cool, and 20 by 30 inch is a fairly standard size so that you can get frames for it if you want. And it's also the same size that we do our art print, poster prints on the web store. So it will match the size. Besides that, there's also a little pack of the game cards that support the articles. Most of these are for the themed threat decks article, but there is a Norselands artifact that actually is themed for Jason's short story.
Yeah.
And then you've got the magazine itself. And the first thing that you'll notice about it is that it's got, a very high quality to it. We have a really nice finish on the cover, really kind of heavy duty. The pages are almost like an art book or something. It's a lot more heavy duty than a magazine. And we're still dialing it in, so we may be changing some of the configurations a little bit. It might make more sense to have the pages actually be maybe even a little thinner, so that they're easier to flip and it's a little more magazine-like.
And possibly more pages.
That we could fit. But, this is our first time ever doing a magazine, so we're kind of working out the kinks. But it's really cool. It's very splashy. On the inside cover here, you can see a big Helltrain miniature gallery. And actually on the back cover, there's a Gates of Valhalla miniature gallery.
Yeah, and it looks like Antonio asks, how often will the magazine be published?
So that is a good question. The magazine, so we don't want to bite off more than we can chew. Right now, we don't have like a magazine staff making the magazine.
Dedicated team.
There's no team dedicated to making this. So, the articles are all done by people in-house, and it's besides all of the other work that they're doing. So, weekly, Count Ehrlich, no. No. So, we made this one, we called it Fall of 2024, and we decided, all right, monthly would kill us, there's no way. So it seemed like the possibilities were once a year, twice a year, or 4 times a year. And once a year seemed too seldom. that's like an annual or something like that. 4 times a year, I think it's possible we could get there, but we'd be hard pressed. I think other stuff would suffer if we had to.
Yeah, we'd
meet
probably
that
need
deadline.
more of a dedicated team to do it.
We'd need more
once a quarter.
of a team. Yeah. So we decided to do this one for 2024, and this is going to be available at midnight, so you can pick up your copy tonight. It's while supplies last, because to get them here in time, we actually had to air ship them from China. So each one is of the first grouping are going to be very, very expensive magazines for us. But it's worth it, so we could have them early and have them at, for the Black Friday sale. So if you want to get it right away, don't hesitate. Grab one of these issues. And then when it runs out, because I think it will, don't worry, because we actually have the full shipment of them coming sometime in mid to late December. And so it's not like your only chance, you'll be able to get it. But if you do want it early, grab it while you can. And then as far as how often we're going to do it, what we've done is committed to, in 2025, we're going to do 2 issues. So there will be a winter, spring, and then a summer, fall. And then in 2026, we're going to see how it goes. If the magazine does really well, if people love it, and we sell out of the print run and stuff like that, then I think we'll probably be in a position where maybe we could hire additional staff, or be able to have some funds dedicated to the magazine, where it's like staffing the magazine, or hiring some different talent to write stories and stuff. We talked about the possibility of having some authors that we love possibly work on stuff. There are some people that are professionals that have written some of our favorite books.
But the point of all of this is, if you want to have more of the magazine, and potentially more frequently, then the more support we can have with people getting the magazine, the better we'll feel about putting more resources into it moving forward.
Yep. All right. Brian Aslan said, could save on shipping for us international folks. That's probably in reference to something up above, but I don't know. One around Dice Fest and one around Roll to Move would be nice. Ah, I see. Yep, that would make sense. Wish it were quarterly, but I understand the challenges. Twice a year might also make more sense in terms of previewing new content.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think quarterly is something we'd like to move to, but a lot of it just depends on if we have the resources to devote to working on it that frequently.
Yeah. All right. Well, so we're super, super excited about the Darkstone Magazine. You guys, please check it out and then let us know what you think. Count Ehrlich says PDF versions. That's not something we're planning right now. We actually want, just as, we came from the video game industry. We've always played board games and loved board games, but both of us work professionally in the video game industry. And one of the things that's so great about board games is you ditch the phone and all the tech part of it, and you're sitting around a table with your buddies rolling dice, and actually it's like social and like it's tangible. And so even though print is kind of, a dying medium, there's nothing like flipping through an actual magazine and poring over all the details and everything. So this is the goal, is to have like the actual print magazine. And so that's what we're working toward right now. And then
the other thing is, a PDF wouldn't get you things like the cards that come with it,
right,
and
the poster,
things like that. So.
Yeah, and that's another thing that's part of this is we wanted to have right from the get-go stuff packed in, and once we worked out those kinks to get a poster, where we could have a poster in each issue if we want to. We could have cards. In the future, we could do other things. There could be large cards or medium cards. There could be die-cut counter sheets. You might be able to get a map tile. There's different things that we could do, but all of those things give us more tools, because now every time we do an issue, it can have actual game components that support the articles. So it's not just, while I do love White Dwarf, a lot of times it was like, it would have just on the page, like the cards, and you were supposed to cut them out and glue them onto cards or whatever. Having a real card that comes with it is so much better, obviously. And sometimes they do that.
Or the thin card stock where it's like perforated and you have to like pop it out.
Yeah, it's not really the same.
It's always not the best because it doesn't match with any of the other stuff that you have.
Yeah. All right, and then what was the other? Somebody, I think I saw somebody's comment where they had asked if Gamers HQ was going to get the magazine, and Gamers HQ has asked us to buy copies of the magazine, and we didn't have it yet. So when we get the normal, the not like limited amount that we're getting airflown in from China, when we get the normal shipment of it, then we're going to be shipping Gamers HQ copies of the magazine that for them to sell in Europe. And if people don't know, Gamers HQ is a store in Berlin run by two brothers, York and Thor Kreese, and they carry a huge selection of Brimstone stuff, and we worked with them so that they could also carry some of the things that are normally only available exclusive to our web store. So they have, some of the resin kits. They've got thermoplastic guys. They've got card supplements and all that. And they're in Europe. They're in Berlin, in Germany. So you can contact them to pick up stuff without having to pay shipping and VAT and all that stuff. So it is an alternate route for people in Europe.
Well, so we're just 35 minutes away.
Yeah, we're gonna have to blaze through some of the other stuff.
Probably not belabor things quite as long, and instead keep on.
We're gonna get back to it. We're gonna talk about the first reveal for tonight's, Black Friday sale and the things we're gonna debut at the Black Friday sale. And the first reveal is this. We'll show we'll bring up the slide for it. Tools of the Trade. This is a new Fortune and Glory card supplement themed around scoundrels and bounty hunters and the tools of their trade.
Yeah, some cool gear.
Treasure hunters.
Things of that.
So we have some examples here. You can see the set includes new event cards, city cards, common items, and gear. And you can see in the slides there some examples. This is not all the cards in it. I just grabbed a few of them and put in the slide. Jason, did you want to talk about some of these? Give people a taste of...
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's just a lot of fun new cards to add into your decks of Fortune and Glory. There's a pack mule.
I'm excited about the pack mule.
As a town item.
Pack mule's great.
Well, one thing that's kind of fun is a couple of the common items that you can get in here are actually marked as only available in a minor city. So the idea is that by going a little bit further afield off the beaten track, you can actually find some items in town that you can't find in the big city, right? Like the pack mule or a local legend. And it's basically a way of encouraging people to go and explore other, further out parts of the map and not be afraid to go back to a minor city to sell an artifact as opposed to going back to a major city just to get the extra fortune. There's some benefits to both sides of that coin. There's also events like Adrenaline Surge, getting too old for this, that's gotta hurt. There's new city cards, a good deal. Where it says gear cards cost you 2 glory less this turn, not including common items. So basically it gives you an entire turn, if you're in the city, when you draw this, to buy gear cards for much cheaper. So you can just be like, oh, you know what, I'm going to fill out with gear cards because there's such a good deal going on. There's also a city card that's an illegal shipment. It says if it's not drawn in a port city, it cancels the card. But it's basically there's dirty dealings down at the dock. And it gives you an event with trying to beat up some mobsters to get the gear that's in their illegal shipment. There's also several new gear cards: soldier's rifle, steel wrench, a bounty hunter's hat. The bounty hunter's hat you can see in the image there. It says +1 agility, and you are +1 defense in the first round of any fight. So basically, when you're out hunting down enemies and beating up mobsters and Nazis, it means that you get the drop on them and get extra defense in that first turn because you're kind of the hunter in the situation.
Right.
So it's just a cool new set of cards that inject some new flavor and theme that's kind of gear themed and bounty hunter themed into Fortune and Glory, and it's timed to hit pretty shortly after the revised edition of Fortune and Glory just came out this year.
That's right. Also, this is the third card supplement for Fortune and Glory. So that the other ones are Sands of Cairo and Danger Pack 1, and we have all of them in stock. So if you just got Fortune and Glory and you don't have any of these card supplements yet, it should be part of the buy two, get one free card supplement sale for Black Friday. So you could actually pick up all three of these, buy two, get one free. And it says, is this pack compatible with the original Fortune and Glory? Absolutely it is. In fact, Fortune and Glory is a revised edition, not a second edition. And so we kept everything fully compatible. And we really just, it's revised in that we went through and kind of cleaned up the cards a little bit, put in any errata, FAQ stuff, cleaned up the rules a little bit for temples, made it a little bit more straightforward. And other than that, it's very much, compatible with everything with the previous expansions. So you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, one of the best parts of it is just having the more compact box, having the board that folds down to be a smaller,
it's true.
Smaller footprint.
Also, the coins are now where they
stack really nicely.
Stack nicely, and you can tell
Fortune and the Glory.
You can tell the difference in the sizes. For the 5s and the 1s.
And also just having the errata in. There's a lot more kind of iconography for things and kind of quality of life improvements on the card layouts and things like that.
Medwind asks, Fang expansion reprints soon? Obviously, we want that. I mean, it only makes sense. We did the revised edition we released in April, I believe, and it sold out in just a few months, totally. And so we're already doing another print run of it. So that's a lot of new Fortune and Glory players. And obviously we would want them to have access to those expansions. The problem is just we're printing a lot of stuff right now. And so getting it into the production schedule is challenging. And, yes, absolutely we want to do it. And we're going to do it as soon as we can. Also, it's not really on topic, but somebody was asking about the second wave of the Kickstarter to Europe. And just to touch on it for a second.
We're still working on it. It's definitely getting closer. I would say if you have address change information, you basically should send that our way as soon as possible.
You can email admin@flyingfrog.net.
Yeah.
And that will always get filtered to whoever needs to see it.
But I would definitely advise sending it as soon as humanly possible, and hopefully we can get that change in before stuff starts.
Yeah, the thing is, if you don't know, it's been locked in German customs for months and months and months, and it's costing us a fortune because they're charging us every single day for every single pallet. For how many pallets?
It's 12 pallets.
12 pallets. So believe me, no one wants them to ship out more than we do, but it's just this problem, and we've been going from group to group to group trying to find someone who can get it out of customs, and it has just been a serious problem. But it's not just for us. A lot of the people we've talked to, they'll say, "Yeah, we just don't ship things into Germany anymore because the customs have gotten so
difficult to navigate."
Yeah, and so this might mean that moving forward for Wave 3 and for the next Kickstarter, we may not do our hub in Germany, or if we can get this pipeline worked out, maybe we will. But
we'll see.
Where it's at right now is that we're at like literally any day it could get out. And once it does, it's actually going to have a pretty quick turnaround. So do not wait if you have address changes. Definitely let us know right away so it doesn't get sent to the old address. Okay.
Okay.
So let's continue through the slides here. We have some white box stuff we wanted to talk about here. So we have a white box restock of the Ancient One. This is really good because we've been sold out of the Ancient One for a while. And we realized in the Darkstone Magazine, one of the recipes, actually, like the big recipe that's the most interesting, is you need the Ancient One and the Serpent King on Qatari Beast. And we're like, people may not have access to the Ancient One right now because it's been sold out, and they may not have access to the Serpent King because he's not out yet. And so what we did, because we're doing the magazine right now, we scrounged and found printed materials and miniatures to support the Ancient One. And so we put together a limited number of Ancient One white box restocks, and we have a white box preview of the Serpent King. So if you're getting the Darkstone Magazine and you're interested in doing that recipe, you may want to pick up the Ancient One and the Serpent King. All right, so that's the Ancient One. If we go on, we'll show some of the white box preview ones. We have the Swamp Stingers. These are a great Jargono enemy that are from the Valley of the Serpent Kings, but they work with any of the Shadows of Brimstone stuff. And if we spin on, we have the Archive Guardian. This is specifically for the library portion of the Targa Plateau. And it's not just the Guardian, the Archive Guardian, but it also comes with the Archive Towers. So it's a new kind of Targa Pylon. And then if we keep going here, we've got a white box preview of the Harvester Drill Team. So you guys may be familiar with the Harvesters from Beyond the Void. These are a different type of harvester. And these models turned out so great. They're a lot of fun to put together because they have different arms with different types of tools. And so you can really customize your team, your Harvester Drill Team, with unique arms. So all of these things are packs that are going to be coming to retail, but it just takes time, and it'll be a while before all these come out to retail. So we've been taking the ones that are a little bit further out and trying to do kind of white box preview versions so people can get them early.
It's also important to note that all these enemies that are white boxed here were part of Kickstarters at various times.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. So all these white box preview ones, they were part of the Brimstone Adventures Kickstarter.
Except for the Ancient One.
That was a white box restock.
Oh, okay.
And the Ancient One is from the original Kickstarter from 2013. The Drill Team is for when the harvesters get serious. Adam Miller, you are correct. All right. Mary Beth has posted, and she says, we have very limited quantities of the Harvester Drill Team, so it is unlikely that they will hit Gamers HQ. That is true.
Yeah, they'll the white box previews rarely.
Yeah, I don't think the previews go out to
because
Gamers HQ.
we tend to have such a limited quantity of them. So they'll get stuff when it's basically going to retail.
Right. All right. So if we go on, there should be more of the white box previews. We've got the Venom Strike Ballista. And this one is one of my favorite models from the Brimstone Adventures Kickstarter. It came together so cool, and it really just rounds out like a Jargono army. It's pretty fantastic. And then if we look at, there's one more, and that is, of course, the Serpent King on Qatari Beast. And this is an XXL Deluxe enemy pack. And this is sort of like the Valley of the Serpent King's, side of the Thunderforged Titan coin, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the XXL Big Bad for Jargono, just as the Thunderforged Titan is the kind of XXL Big Bad for the Norselands. All right, so those white box previews all will be available at midnight. Next up, I wanted to show something that that you guys may have seen. We live streamed it. It's an event from Dice Fest, and it was called the Bitsbox Brawl. This is the first time we did it this year at Dice Fest, and it was a big hit. So I think we're probably going to do it again at next year's Dice Fest. But the idea is that each contestant gets one bits box, glue, clippers, some green stuff. That's the yellow and blue putty that you mix together. It makes a green putty. You can fill gaps. You can model with it. And then they had 1 hour to construct a new unique enemy for Shadows of Brimstone. We also included an enemy record sheet, a blank enemy record sheet, and some blank enemy threat cards so that people could actually not only build the creature from their random parts, but then name it and then give it some stats and kind of create a theme. And so at the end of the time, all of the contestants had created their creature, they named it, and they had stats for it, and they introduced us to their creatures. If you didn't get to see this, we live streamed this one on Instagram, I believe. And so you can go to our Instagram page and watch it. And when we were preparing, I think we do have a few more pictures from it. You can see I think that's Brian Biswell and his third place winner. I don't remember the name of this one offhand, but there he is holding the bronze Clippers trophy.
Like a Forbidden Fortress theme.
And
temple dog up there.
And this one right here, that's Michael Wybrow, and he is the first place winner. He's got the golden Clippers, and he called this the Jazzy Emu. And one of our judges was actually our guest artist, Liz Meanold, who's done a bunch of cover illustrations for Shadows of Brimstone. And while we were doing the judging, she looks at me and she's like, you know what? These are all such cool monsters. I could totally sketch one of these. Do you think that they would like that? And I said, yes, they would like that. Are you kidding me? Yes, absolutely. And so we basically, on the spot, made it that part of first place was that she will take photos of your monster and then do an original Shadows of Brimstone sketch of the creature. And so this is her completed sketch of the Jazzy Emu that you can see there on the right. And on the left, you can see Michael and his Jazzy Emu miniature that he put together. So why are we showing this? We are showing this because when we were preparing for the Black Friday sale, I think it was Rolf's idea to have a special Bitsbox Brawl edition of the plastic box of bits. And basically, he said that when he created the bits boxes for the Bitsbox Brawl, he juiced them. And so that means he put in more parts and he put in some bigger parts, like bigger, creature parts. And then, of course, it comes with a blank enemy record sheet, blank threat cards, and we figured if we're already making this a super edition, why don't we go from 2 random cards to 4 random promo cards? And so for the Black Friday sale that is launching in 18 minutes, we actually made available the Bitsbox Brawl edition of the plastic bits box. So,
and these are probably a pretty limited availability, right?
Yes, but if people are interested in it, maybe we'll continue and do more in the future.
What would be really cool is to have a painting contest category at Roll to Move or Dice Fest next year. That is a Bitsbox Brawl model, where you basically.
Some people have said they're going to take the model that they made at this year's Bitsbox Brawl and paint it up and then enter it in the open category of like Roll to Move.
Yeah, but I mean, we could even have just a separate category that is the Bitsbox Brawl.
Or you could do like a triathlon kind of thing, where maybe they have to like assemble the creature and then glue it all together and then prime it and then paint it, like one giant contest.
Well, that's just madness.
Luke Evans says, such a cool touch. I got to teach Liz how to play Brimstone. Oh, nice. That's cool. She said that she played Shadows of Brimstone and absolutely loved it. She said she fell in love with the Vikings. All right, so that's the box of plastic bits. In the next slide, we're going to show we actually have been working on converting our different resin figures into thermoplastic versions, and that means that we revisit the sculpt. We find ways that we can, if there's anything that would like improve it a little bit, especially in how it's cast, so we can get better detail or maybe fewer pieces, that kind of thing. And so we've been slowly doing this. And these two guys are the last of the Scafford Gang lieutenants that were not, cast in thermoplastic. So we just finished molds for these two guys and spun them up. And so we actually have thermoplastic versions of Stoneface McCoy and Silverback Pa Scafford now are available starting in 16 minutes. All right, keep it going. Next up, we've got, we're going to touch on the bundles. We've got a bunch of different bundles for the sale. I won't go through what's in all of them, but each one is kind of a great way to jump into that game, and they're themed for that particular core set, or sometimes a theme like the Scafford Gang, where it's all about different Scafford Gang guys, or Blasted Wastes, where it's you get the Blasted Wastes Otherworld expansion and then all the different things that support it. The Scafford Gang one is very exciting because it actually has the Scafford Gang Deluxe Enemy Pack and then all the Scafford enemy supplements, and then all of the supporting Scafford Lieutenant miniatures. So it's one big bundle that gets you all of that stuff at a hefty discount. All of these are at a pretty hefty discount. We have to entice people. And actually the one that's most exciting, but I think unfortunately it's covered up by a little thumbnail of us right now, is the ultimate bundle for Dark Gothic. I don't know, can you make our thumbnail go away? Okay, there it is. So you can see it. So the Dark Gothic one, this is very exciting. This actually has the core set of Dark Gothic, the standalone expansion of Colonial Horror, every single card supplement we've ever done, all 11, and both promo villains and their supporting cards, and all of the promo cards that have been released for it up to this point, including the wedding promo, which is from Jason's wedding, and so extremely hard to get. So all of it in one. So if you guys have ever thought about checking out Dark Gothic, for one super discounted bundle price, you could get everything that has been released for Dark Gothic so far. It even includes the 4 alternate colors of Omen dice, so that you'll have a total of 6 different colored Omen dice, which is pretty cool. All right, so we can move on from the bundles. Just wanted to mention that. And then next up, this one's pretty exciting and something you don't get very often, but we actually have some of the Kickstarter pledge boxes from Brimstone Adventures. And so we have the Lion pledge box, the Explorer pledge box, and the Warlord pledge box, all for sale. Even though the Kickstarter is long gone, it is a chance to get the full pledge box, which includes all of that stuff, the exclusives and all of it. So it's not too late. It is a second chance to get it just in time for the holidays. Makes a great gift or treat yourself. All right, and then if we move on, this one I think maybe will be exciting. This is where it gets very exciting. We're coming to the very end of our live stream. What is that, Jason?
That looks an awful lot like a retail version of the Lost Army Hell Cannon.
That is a retail version of the Lost Army Hell Cannon. That's right. How long have people wanted this, Jason? 2014?
Yeah.
I mean, they first saw it in 2013.
Yeah.
But only people that got the Kickstarter have it. And this is why you should always get the Kickstarter, because it takes a long time for things to come to retail.
I'd
So
say.
yeah, Kickstarter people got this a decade ago, and it is about to launch to retail in 2025. I think this comes out in March of 2025. But we have a limited number of them that are going to be for sale in 12 minutes. And this is the full-on retail packaging. And in case you're saying, you know what though, I already have from my Kickstarter a Hell Cannon, I would remind you that you can actually have, there's an epic threat with 3 Hell Cannons if you get a Thunder of Hell Cannons.
The Thunder of Hell Cannons, yeah.
So it's not too late to fill out the ranks.
Which, when you fight it, it is terrifying. I don't know how many of you out there have ever fought a Thunder of Hell Cannons, but terrifying.
I saw someone said, "Hell yes," on the Hell Cannon. And Luke Evans says that's the last thing to come to retail from the Minecart pledge. Almost. We have never retail released the corpse piles, and we've never retail released the mine terrain.
Yeah,
but
and
other
it's
than
possible
that,
those will never go to retail.
Yeah, I mean they don't really fit in a retail type setting. But yes, this is the last enemy pack that everybody's been waiting for. So this is it. There it is. We can show in the next slide. I'll show the back so you can see. There's what the back of the box looks like, and you can see the different cards that come with it, and the Hell Cannon. This is a really cool model. We may have saved the best for last. It's pretty awesome. All right, and then maybe we have the last big reveal, but before we do it,
yeah,
maybe we should just switch over for a second and show us full screen on camera, because there's a couple other things that I just didn't get to put in the slideshow. So if you flip back to us full screen, so I wanted to say, people have been wanting this for a very long time. We have the Scafford Gang Deluxe Enemy Pack is just arrived from China. And this is probably the most requested out of stock item that we've just done a new production run of. And so here it is in all its glory, the Scafford Gang Deluxe Enemy Pack back in stock and available in 10 minutes. We also have back in stock, probably the second most requested enemy pack, the Swamp Raptor of Jargono, the XL-sized giant dino. And this also available in 9 minutes on the web store. Back in stock, the Deluxe Enemy Pack Undead Outlaws. This one is probably the one that's been out of stock the longest. And it is such a fantastic set. Not only do you get the Undead Outlaws, but you get the Undead Gunslinger, who's a legendary, the first legendary enemy. He steps out of the shadows and duels you. Anyway, this is a fantastic pack. All 3 of these are hotly sought after, and we got tired of people paying too much on eBay for them. We had to get them back in stock. And so these are back in stock, and yes, they will be back in retail stores as soon as we can get them out to distributors and get them back into stores. Basically the shipment just arrived from China. So we have them in our web store, and they're going to be heading out to distributors and then on out into retail stores over the next maybe month, something like that. I also did not get a chance to show last Thursday, we actually released to retail these 2 sets. This is the Alt-Gender Enemy Pack for Gates of Valhalla and Valley of the Serpent Kings. And these actually include not only the Alt-Gender minis, but all the cards, hero record sheets,
team abilities,
starting
upgrades,
starting
gear.
upgrades, everything so that you could play these heroes right out of the box.
And the counter sheets for ambition or rage and things like that at starting.
And so it's the kind of thing where even if you don't have Valley of the Serpent Kings, you could always get this hero pack and add these heroes to your games in feudal Japan or in the Old West or something like that. Same thing with the Vikings. So these are available in stores now. They just came out on Thursday. So I mentioned that the Hell Cannon is coming out in March, but we also have some releases even sooner than that. I believe that the December release that'll be available in about 3 weeks is going to be the Dragar Undead Vikings for Gates of Valhalla. And, you know, Vikings are already cool, but Undead Vikings, I mean, come on. It's fantastic. So these right here will be available in stores next month. We have a limited number of preview versions, full retail packaging, that are going to be available on the web store in 7 minutes. And then the January release is going to be the Trun Gladiators. You can see these guys are in a thicker box because the models are just too big to fit in the normal size box. But these are the Trun Gladiators. These guys are kind of the fiercest warriors that fight in the Trun proving grounds, fighting pits and stuff. And, you know, they'll do their, you know, trial runs and their training grounds on inhospitable worlds like the Targa Plateau. And so if your adventurers are unlucky enough to come upon these guys when they're doing their training exercises, you may end up fighting the Trun Gladiators. So again, these will be available in 6 minutes on the web store.
Yeah, for a limited time, just for the Black Friday sale.
Just during the Black Friday sale, and then it's going to be released officially in December for the Undead Vikings, the Dragar, and January for the Trun Gladiators. And then here's the Lost Army Hell Cannon. And this one, it might be March or it might be February. But you can see, here it is, retail packaging. It's the real deal. All right, and now, last but not least, I'm going to hold it up first and then we'll show the slides. What we wanted was to have, we love to surprise people. It's very hard to do in this day and age because the internet is vast and full of darkness, and it's very hard to keep a secret. But we tried really hard. And I think we've pulled off a genuine secret because nobody knows about this. And so we have a brand new XL enemy pack for the Blasted Wastes. No one's ever seen it. No one's ever heard of it. And we're super excited to reveal for the first time the Warden Mark III Gladiator. And now, why don't we show slides so you can actually see it, a better picture close up. There it is, the XL-sized enemy pack, the Warden Mark III Gladiator. So as you guys know, this year has been a little bit of a Blasted Wastes themed year. We've revisited the Blasted Wastes. We have new Wasteland War Masters. We had the Warden Sentries, which were the Mark VI Wardens. Mm-hmm. And we've established that the lower the number, the larger the Warden. So the Warden Mark VI guys are a little bit taller than humans. The Warden Mark III is pretty big. And we wanted this model kit to be really posable and a lot of fun to put together. So it has ball and socket joints so that you can really change the pose up. It's got a helmet you can put on or off, and he looks really cool with it or without it. And then we have alternate hands that you can put on with different hand configurations and weapons. If we spin on, we can show the back of the box, and you can see the painted model. And you can see there he is on the left without the helmet, and then you can see the inset picture with the helmet. And you can also see some of the different hands there. That's where instead of the axe right hand, he's got a fist, and in the left hand, he's got his open kind of grappling hand. And let's see, there's some questions coming in. I like the idea of otherworld-themed years. Yeah, thanks, Michael. And
so, any variants? So with the Warden Mark III, he doesn't have any variant paint schemes, but he can show up in the Blasted Wastes, as well as in the Derelict Ship, and there's the regular Epic Threat version of him, as well as an Epic Threat with two of them that can show up. And There's
the crawling torso.
Well, we're getting there. There's an otherworld threat of a rusted out one that you can encounter just as a normal threat, not an epic threat. And when you're fighting the Warden Mark III, one of the things that can happen is that when you defeat him, you smash him apart and break him in half, and he may come chasing after you just as a crawling torso to show up in one of your future fights during that adventure, as they will never stop hunting you, trying to keep you from escaping their steel grip. So there's
DVC Bear says, exclusive to the web store, looks like a retail box. This is absolutely a retail box, and it's coming out into stores this spring. It might be March. This one might be March. It's
March or April?
February, March, or April. I don't remember. I don't have it in front of me, and I only got a few hours of sleep last night. But it's coming out this spring, and it'll be in stores around the world. We got a limited number of them so that they could be in the web store for the Black Friday sale. So these
Black Friday sale that starts in 1 minute.
You can buy these in 1 minute on the web store.
Yeah, but it is
a limited number of them.
It is going to be going to retail in 2025, early 2025.
And then here's some other pictures so you can see Aaron Lovejoy's beautifully painted Warden Mark III Gladiator, and you can see some of the variations there.
I'm actually really excited to see some of these guys painted up and modeled to be the crawling torso.
I want to see some crawling torsos,
because I think that when it happens in game, it's going to be epic. Chasing down your hero party. It definitely is a story moment where you just can't escape this guy, and he keeps coming after you, even though you've broken him in half. So having that as a potential modeling opportunity, I think, is going to be really cool too.
I had to include some of the pictures of the back, because the detail is pretty awesome.
All right, well, it looks to me like it is midnight right now, Pacific time, so that means that the sale should be live, right?
Yes.
The sale should be live.
The sale should be live right now, and I think we'll probably get some comments if it's not. So this is the point where we'll take some Q&A, and we'll talk with people, and we'll also fix anything if people are like, whoa, where's the buy two, get one free, or anything like that. If there's something missing, you can let us know, and we can make sure it gets added. But the Black Friday sale should now be live, and Aaron is a very good painter. Yes, he is. He's won so many awards, it's ridiculous. Card packs are at discount. Yes, all the card supplements are buy two, get one free.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you guys. Adam Miller replying to Devin Smith, where's the magazine? Where's the magazine?
The magazine should be on the store.
We'll make sure that the magazine gets added to the store if it's not on there.
Yeah, Will is asking about a Blood in the Forest reprint for LNOE. So it's one of the things on our list of many things that needs to be, scheduled for a reprint. It's not currently being manufactured, but it's on the list. So it's just a matter of, with finite resources, you can't do everything all at once. So it'll get reprinted. It's just, it may be a little bit of a ways off.
All right, let's see.
Any news on the pledge manager for Helltrain? So no news. The plan is that it'll hit sometime, most likely late spring next year, 2025, ahead of the prospective shipping date. And so, we'll definitely be given more information once we actually are closer to it and have a more fixed date. But other than that, the best we can do is kind of a general window that we're aiming for, which is late spring, early summer for the pledge manager.
Yeah, in the past, some of the first Kickstarters we did the pledge manager a little bit too early, and what ended up happening was, one of the things we do in the pledge manager is to collect the addresses, shipping addresses for people, and so we collected the info. But then when we started shipping, it was, I don't remember, 6 months or a year later or something, and everybody had moved, or a bunch of people had moved, and we thought, okay, we need to make sure we don't do make sure that we don't do this too early because we don't want people to move. So we try to put the pledge manager closer to actual shipping. Let's see. Confirmed magazine is in the store. Excellent.
Looks like Andrea asks, is it time to do an adventure box based on the Blasted Wastes? Maybe. I mean, you never know. You never know what's coming down the pipeline. That's not an announcement or anything, but it would be fun to do something like that.
Yeah, don't tempt Jason. He'll do it. All right. Order placed. All right, people are successfully doing their orders. Oh, wait. I don't see the Hell Cannon on the store. Were there any for the Black Friday sale? Yes, there should be. Let's make sure. So actually they're saying make sure you check because there's multiple pages for the holiday sale. So if you look, make sure you go through all the pages.
Yeah.
Which one were they saying was missing again? Lost Army Hell Cannon.
Yeah. Looks like Sebastian is asking about the most irritating question of the decade, he says. Any news on add-ons for Fortune and Glory? No news. I mean, if we had news, we would definitely give you news. But the Fortune and Glory expansions are still in development. We're still organizing more photo shoots and getting, it's in playtest. So we're still playtesting it and making sure everything is where it needs to be. But we don't have a prospective release date for it yet. Every time we've tried to get it back on the schedule and give some sort of, kind of blue sky, speculative date, it ends up just hitting more snags and gets us into trouble with people being angry that it's not coming out as fast as everyone would like. But it's still coming. It's still in the works. They're still happening. We just don't have any particular specifics on an update for it right now.
You know what could be fun though is if you give them 1 minute of preview of one of the expansions. Why don't you just talk just one tidbit of explain the notion of temple treasures.
Temple treasures.
Yes.
Sure, I may have talked about this before, but hey, I can talk about temple treasures.
Just 1 minute. We don't have to take all the time. Go ahead.
Sure, I can do this all day. So temple treasures. Yeah, so temple treasures are a new thing in the Temples and Treasures expansion that's coming for Fortune and Glory, where it's basically a deck of unique relics that are used when you find a temple. And instead of just when you collect the last fortune from the temple, you get the little temple piece as representing like the big kind of artifact treasure of the temple, and then going and selling it.
Like the golden idol,
kind of generalized
in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, it's kind of generalized.
Yeah.
And so with this new set, it's
not a generic one. It's actually a deck of unique.
Sorry, he's got some info for you there.
It's up now? Okay. So Lost Army Hell Cannon is now in the store. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So it's basically a deck of unique relics, so that every temple has a unique item, unique relic that you're hunting for and that you can get. And so it'll be, the Eye of Horus or, a statue of a dark god kind of thing. And so it gives you some cool stuff to look forward to. And those relics actually have unique properties as well. So when you get one, you can decide if you want to hang on to it and use its cool special ability, or if you want to take it and sell it for the fortune that it's worth. In that Temples and Treasures set, there's also a deck of Temple Guardians that are like kind of bigger, monstrous enemies that come out and protect those temple relics when you're hunting, having an adventure in a temple. There's a lot of new stuff.
I just said 1 minute.
That was your 1 minute. Sorry.
Steven Hernandez asks any news about the Tredaran tank coming to retail. So that is not currently in the schedule, but obviously we know people really want the tank. And so I think, we haven't made the schedule yet. I would say if I were a betting man, I would not be surprised to see it come out in 2025. But
looks
we'll see.
Looks like Chris is saying no shipping to Canada. He's getting an error on saying that he has one or more items that can't ship to his region.
That's strange.
Shipped to your location.
I wonder if it's about the... we had some trouble with getting the web store to calculate the shipping for certain orders on the playmats. So if you have a playmat, that's possibly what it is. It's out? Okay. Let me see. No shipping to Canada. I'm just making a note here. I'm texting the person manning the web store right now, and we'll get to the bottom of it.
All right. It looks like Brian says, thanks, guys. He got his order. Aloha from Hawaii. Aloha. And Andrea says, order completed. It's my birthday after all. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy Brimstone
In
birthday.
Japan. Happy Brimstone birthday. What's a Brimstone birthday?
It's his birthday. I don't know. It's a birthday where you get a live stream for your birthday.
Oh, yeah. It's a birthday where people, knuckleheads in Seattle, wish people in Japan happy birthday.
Indeed.
So I also saw somebody was asking for maybe a late night tidbit about perilous expeditions.
Late night tidbit. Yeah, so we did show off a lot of cool stuff at Dice Fest about perilous expeditions. So if you go on the Brimstone community group on Facebook, I think that different people had some coverage showing off a lot of the images for different minis that come with it and things like that.
Do you want to give them a 1 minute tidbit again and talk about,
the 1 minute
stories? You know, how it combines.
Yeah, so
to form.
So Perilous Expeditions, one of the big kind of through lines of it is that it's not just a campaign that you play. It's actually kind of a campaign generator. And so because Shadows of Brimstone is all about being a sandbox game, it basically gives you a big campaign map. There's one for the Vikings and one, it's double-sided, so it's Vikings on one side, Conquistadors, Spanish Explorer type stuff on the other. And when you want to start a new campaign with a Perilous Expeditions campaign, you basically can either randomly decide or choose a story to play, which is like the narrative story elements of the campaign, and then combine that with an objective for the campaign. And so each of those things brings something different to the campaign story and how you play through it and how you win the campaign or lose the campaign. And the story part is, in the Vikings, for instance, one of the stories is the breaking of the underworld gates. And so, it has story elements about how the underworld gates are smashing apart and the ground's shaking and it's sort of erupting chaos all across the Norselands. And so it has all the narrative story that comes with that. And then it has some special rules about what happens when you find gates. Instead of it being a portal to another world, on the campaign map, the gate is actually an underworld gate that you're trying to seal before it breaks open. And so you're basically moving around the campaign map trying to find these gates and seal them before it cracks open another exit from the underworld and evil starts pouring out. And then that's like the story half. And then you combine that with one of the objective halves, which is something like exploration or battle or solve the mystery. And so each of those basically tells you, what is special about that campaign and the different special rules associated with it. It also has the campaign goals that you're trying to accomplish. And so it tells you how what the goals are, how you accomplish them. And then every time you accomplish a goal, it says, go back to the story that you're playing, and it unlocks the next kind of narrative story section that is triggered once you accomplish the next goal. So it basically gives you kind of a sandbox for generating new campaigns. And because there's a grouping of stories and a grouping of objectives, you combine those together, and it gives you a lot of different kind of different campaigns you can play just for Vikings and different campaigns you can play just for the Spanish Explorer side of things.
All right, so the lights just got turned out. No, I'm just kidding. We knew the battery on the cameras was winding down. That's what I was just checking on. And so the battery power went out because we did a very long live stream, and we have an expensive camera that looks great and has 4K video, but it eats battery pretty quick. So, so I think we're back now. We just had to change the batteries. And because we're transmitting with this Restream and we're using you know, different separate microphones and everything separately from the camera, you know, we didn't like lose the feed. We just lost the picture.
Yeah.
And now it's back up.
No worries. So it looks like Martin says, thanks, guys. Good night from Texas. Good night, Martin. Thanks for joining us for the live stream. Steven Hernandez also says good night. Good night, Steven. Again, thanks for joining us for the live stream. We don't want to keep anybody up too late here, but we can answer a few more questions if anybody has stuff.
There's one here. It says, are you going to open a Euro hub in the future? Sadly, the shipping cost from the U.S. is still expensive for European customers. So, you know, imagine for a second that somebody said, like, you know, why don't you open a store in the U.S.? You know, somebody in Europe would probably say, whoa, you know, that's a lot. Like, how am I supposed to know all of the, you know, paying taxes in another country, the legality, you know, contracts, hiring employees, like all of that. And all of that stuff is the same thing for us. You know, we really don't know, you know, about doing business in Europe in that way. So it would be a big jump to try to do an actual, like, extend our business to have a hub in Europe. But what we have been doing is working with Gamers HQ, where, you know, those guys sort of act as a stockist for us. So, so they are in Germany. You know, they buy stuff from us discounted, and then can have things that are normally exclusive to our web store, like the magazine, like, you know, white box stuff, resin or thermoplastic miniatures, card supplements, all of those things, as well as the normal retail products for Shadows of Brimstone. So those guys they're a major store for Shadows of Brimstone in Europe. And so basically people from all over Europe will order from them because they can avoid paying like shipping from the US and some of the VAT taxes and things like that. So that is basically our solution for this, having Gamers HQ act as sort of a stockist. And so I would recommend checking those guys out. The store is called Gamers HQ, and they're in Berlin, Germany.
There are some other questions we have here. Devin says, will we ever get an Invasion from Outer Space expansion? So there was one on the books many years ago called Scorched Earth, and we had done some of the photo shoots for it, and it was, you know, in testing and whatnot. But it ended up getting backburnered, and I don't know if and when it'll ever actually see the light of day. I mean, never say never. It would be cool, but it, you know, Invasion from Outer Space is definitely, you know, one of those games that that came out. It uses the Last Night on Earth engine. It completely works with all of your Last Night on Earth content as well. But you know, the Martians, you know, didn't seem like they had quite as much of a popular foothold,
Broad appeal.
a broader appeal to it. So, so because of that, the expansion that we were working on for it just kind of got backburnered, and it would be cool to come back and do that at some point, but it just kind of has to fit into a schedule and make sense to make it happen.
Sufuma asks, the Legendary Villains hopefully soon. So the Legendary Villains is a very cool set for from the Kickstarter for Forbidden Fortress, and they are actually the last of the sets to be released from the Forbidden Fortress. They're the Lost Army Hell Cannon of Forbidden Fortress. And so that's why he's asking about it. Those should actually be released pretty soon. I would say probably 2025. That's not, I don't see any stacks of Bibles that I'm swearing on or anything like that, but it's going to be one of the ones we're doing sooner than later. And Jason already answered that. Invasion.
John
from Outer Space
asks,
one.
what are the approximate dimensions of the Perilous Expeditions box? So we're still finalizing the box for it, but the current intent is that the box size will be the same dimensions as the adventure set boxes, Gates of Valhalla and Valley of the Serpent Kings, but not quite as thick.
There's so much in it though. We keep adding more, and it's getting crazy. So we'll see. It might just need to ship in a full minecart. But actually, speaking of that, why don't we switch over for a second? Because people were asking about Perilous Expeditions. Jason, I know you're not prepared for this, but why don't we just show them some of the minis? We showed these at Dice Fest, and why don't we just show them for a second so that people who missed Dice Fest can see them. But we'll have to do it pretty quick. We don't want to keep people all night. But it looks like we're going to switch on. We're going to show the tentacles. Did you want to talk about these?
Leviathan tentacles. So there's 2 new enemies that come in Perilous Expeditions. There's the Deep Stalkers and the Leviathan tentacles. These are specifically tentacles, very tall. These are 40 millimeter base, large size enemies. And they're basically like giant tentacles that burst up out of the water. These are mostly used for attacking your ship when you're at sea on the campaign map, moving through sea spaces, and you get a random attack on your ship. The Leviathan tentacles can be one of the things that attacks you, and they'll basically rise up out of the water and be trying to pull crewmen off your ship and smashing the deck of the ship and trying to destroy sections of the ship that you've been working on building up and using your resources to enhance. So the Leviathan tentacles can be a little more dangerous even than other enemies because they do have the potential to wreck parts of your ship in addition to fighting you in combat. So they're kind of a cool campaign enemy as well as just a normal fight.
And the next slide, I think, shows a group of them. There they are.
Yeah, you have six Leviathan tentacles in there, which is good because they can come up all around your ship to sort of surround it and attack you from the different water areas that are on either side of your ship or ahead of the bow, behind the stern, all that.
I also wanted to say hi to Scott Everts. He popped on and said, "I'm late. What did I miss?" And all I have to say is, you shouldn't have waffled.
We should just start over.
Oh, yeah, let's begin again. All right, so let's spin on to the next ones. These are the Deep Stalkers, and you can see them in illustrations, and there's the miniatures. Those illustrations went by quick, but that's
everybody loves a good fish man. And
everybody loves a good fish man.
And the Deep Stalkers are, some ruthless fishmen from the dark depths of the sea. So there's another new enemy that comes in Perilous Expeditions, and they work great for climbing aboard your ship in the night to steal your resources and supplies and to battle your crew on the deck of your ship. They can also come out in normal adventures and fight you in the Norse lands or in the Spanish fort or wherever you may roam. So the Deep Stalkers are always hiding in the shadows, crawling up out of the sea to steal your stuff and abscond with your crewmen and drag them back into the dark depths below the ocean. So those are the Deep Stalkers. And again, that's a group of medium-sized enemies, and you get 6 of them in the box.
All right, the next miniature.
I will also say Jacob asks about the Executioners of Valator enemies. He doesn't recognize them. Are they new? They were not part of a previous Kickstarter. Those came out earlier this year. I think, when was the first time we had them?
Which
Executioners of Valator. Was that Roll to Move or was that Gen Con?
That was at Gen Con.
That was at Gen Con.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Wait. I think it was Roll to Move, and that Gen Con was the Mark VI Wardens. Is that right?
I think it was the other way around.
Maybe it was the other way around, and Valator was it. Yeah, so, Valator was Gen Con.
Executioners of Valator came out earlier this year, just a few months ago. So it looks like we're also hitting a few more images from Perilous Expeditions. We should probably wrap this up in the next few minutes. So
yeah, I was mostly looking to show some of the cool minis, but we're getting a little slideshow.
Slideshow, moving quick. Different artwork.
This isn't something we had prepared to do. This is actually part of the slideshow from Dice Fest. But But at the last minute, I was like, maybe we could show a few of the minis because they're very exciting. We're super excited about them. So if we flip on through here, a lot of very cool artwork for Perilous Expeditions. There's so much art because the books for it are huge. It's a massive, massive adventure and campaign.
Yeah. And there's a lot of new missions in it too. I mean, even if you weren't going to play it as a campaign or any of that, which of course you'd be missing out on a huge amount of new material. But even if you just got it for the missions, there's just a bunch of new missions that are in the set, and some really cool, fun and thematic missions.
Michael Wybrow says, saw these models in the flesh at Dice Fest. Very cool. I forgot that we 3D printed them in flesh. That would be really disgusting, actually.
It's the future of medicine, right?
Probably.
I'm pretty sure they're already 3D printing organs and things.
Yeah.
Out of tissue, which is crazy, but really
They
cool.
don't have it for home 3D printers. There's something disturbing about that.
You gotta print a new stomach at home or something. You need that for Thanksgiving. Print an extra stomach.
Okay, now we're up to some of the minis. Jason, look at this. Now these are little minis. The scale of these are so cool. And these are the little Viking longships.
So these are minis for the campaign map specifically. So the one in the center there you can see has the square Viking sail. That one represents your Viking expedition ship when you're at sea, moving around the map. The set actually comes with 2 additional longboats, but they've got the more sinister looking triangular sail. And those are actually used on the campaign map for Hellborn raiders. So they're basically Hellborn pirates that have sworn their allegiance to the darkness and can chase you around the map and try to attack you.
Crawling with Dungeons says, any idea when the rival card packs might release? And we're planning to have those come out. Those will be available on our web store. I'm not sure exactly when yet, but in 2025, we're planning on putting the different rival card packs out.
So the next group of minis here is the Spanish Explorer expedition ship. And this one basically is what represents your conquistadors and Spanish explorers moving around the campaign map when you're at sea. And you actually get 3 of these in the box because during the campaign, as you put more resources into your expedition, you can actually get additional ships and grow your fleet to be able to explore different areas of the map faster.
But, of course, they may face Spanish forts.
So these Spanish forts, one of the things that's kind of fun with Perilous Expeditions is that it has the areas of sea and the areas of land that you move around as you explore the campaign map. And it also has, the map is split into different regions, and each region has 6 location spots. They're basically little circles that are location spots. And you draw cards to see what locations show up there when you explore. And the different locations, some of the locations you can find are Spanish forts that you can reclaim. And so when you do an adventure there, if you succeed at the adventure in the Valley of the Serpent Kings side of things, the Spanish Explorer Perilous Expedition campaign, you can reclaim these forts and start creating new strongholds throughout the territory that you can use to reinforce and to gain extra resources. As you start rebuilding the forts that have fallen into shadow, you can reclaim them. So these represent those pieces on the board. For all of the locations, there's actually stickers that you get, reusable stickers that you put onto the board when you find new locations as you explore. And these ones are, because you're kind of reclaiming forts and kind of collecting them up, they're a more epic location that you can get. And so there's the little plastic pieces you can put out on the map because you get bonuses for each fort you've reclaimed. And this right here is the Viking army banner, which represents your Viking expedition when they're on land moving around. So basically your ship sails around in the sea, and then when you move on to land, you can swap it out for your little banner of troops that marches around exploring the different areas of land and trying to reach the different locations and landmarks on the map to go on missions and adventures. And here is a version of the Spanish Explorer banner. So you can see the different conquistador soldiers there and the El Capitan at the front with his Spanish flag. And so this, again, just represents your expedition when they're on land, moving around, exploring. These ones are rune stones. So much like the reclaimed fort for the Spanish Explorer side, these are for the Vikings. And so when you find runestone locations, if you succeed at the mission there, you can basically take control of the runestone, and you get extra bonuses for the different runestones that you control throughout the map. So looks like John asks, how large are these different models, like the banner models? So all of these are meant for campaign play. They're basically really small. The little figures, the little humans on the banners, the banner pieces are about 8 to 10 millimeter, somewhere in that range. And so they tend to be, the piece tends to be around an inch, between an inch or so, maybe 2 to 3 centimeters, something like that. An inch or maybe just over an inch. And then for these different pieces like the rune stones and things like that, they're all about the size, like the base of it is about the size of a dime, an American dime, as far as how big the footprint of it is. So another thing that you can find on the campaign map are portals, and going through those portals is how you find missions that actually lead you into other worlds. And so those maps, or those pieces can go out on the map, because once you successfully complete a mission at a portal, you get to take over that location, and you can actually, once you get multiple portals, you can use them for fast traveling around the map. So you can go in portal in one spot and come out a portal across the map in a different spot. So it's all about trying to find and collect up the different portals that you find and control them so that you can move around faster.
Good night, Paul.
All
right. So we've hit the end of that, and we should maybe just wrap up with a goodbye and any other last minute other questions that you still had on your docket to answer.
There's obviously a lot here, but I think we should probably wrap things up. We got to, Brian says he likes the Mighty Empires vibe of the campaign pieces. That's definitely an inspiration for it. Mighty Empires was an awesome game, and the miniatures for it were fantastic from back in the early 90s. So that was definitely an inspiration for having pieces like this for the campaign map. But also, the Perilous Expeditions has the reusable stickers that it's coming with, which is so that you can fold up the map and put it away. But having the little pieces means that when you actually put the board down and play over a weekend or over a session, you can have something physical and tangible on the board, moving it around, and you can see where the rune stones are, or the gates that you've found, or the hellborn pirate ships that are chasing you down through the seas.
And the thing is that these were originally slated just to be tokens or something, but like bringing them to life in these cool little miniature, it is really captivating. It makes it much more interesting.
Originally, they were just going to be the reusable stickers that you put down, and having the miniatures for some of the more important ones that stay out on the map and mean something gameplay wise, just kind of helps bring it to life and make it a cooler expansion, a cooler product.
I saw someone was saying, when will the new stuff be at Gamers HQ? Gamers HQ actually has orders going out all the time. I know that they just placed one, so it'll probably be going out in the next maybe mid-December, something like that, and it should have some of the new stuff anyway. They won't. There's certain things that they won't be able to get early. Like we flew in any of the stuff that we kind of like at great expense air freight in so that we have it super early. That stuff we can't really sell to Gamers HQ because it adds so much to the shipping. The shipping adds so much to the cost of each one, so it doesn't really work. But a lot of that new stuff will be going to Gamers HQ. So.
All
right.
and yeah, last note. Andrea asks, can you go full miniatures on the map to avoid stickers completely? Unfortunately, you can't. There's too many different locations. There's 36 different locations that you can find, and some of those are runestones, some of those are gates, but all of the other ones that are not don't really have as much ongoing gameplay use. So it's more like landmarks that you find, and each of them is represented by a card that also tells you what mission you can have an adventure at if you go there, as well as what type of location it is. Like, is it a perilous location? Is it a treasure location? Is it a supernatural location? And that has ramifications for gameplay. But the sticker versions of those are first of all, there's so much variation. It would be impossible to do miniatures, or improbable to do, impractical maybe is the word I'm looking for, to do miniatures for all of them. But the ones that we did do miniatures for are specifically ones that have ongoing gameplay stuff beyond just using it as a mission generator. So like those runestones and that give you bonuses, the gates that you can travel between, things like that.
So I saw somebody was saying that thanks to Brexit, in the UK, it doesn't help that much to order from Gamers HQ. So, I mean, it's possible that we can see if there's somebody that would be in a similar kind of situation where they could be as a stockist in the UK. And if you guys have any recommendations for us of your local game store or a game store that you know of in the UK that you think would be, maybe they carry a lot of Brimstone stuff, or somebody that you'd recommend, you can always email us. I would say put it in the chat, but I don't know that we'll see it beyond this live stream. So it would be worth emailing admin@flyingfrog.net.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately we're looking to try to help everybody get stuff without the cost. The huge cost of shipping hurts all of us. It's not something that we're doing or that we're making up. We just have to pay what the cost of the shipping is.
Yeah.
It's just that everything has gotten so expensive, All right, excellent. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We have passed the midnight mark, so that means it's officially, at least where we are here in Seattle, it is now Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, Jason.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And we wanted to thank Daniel for running the board. And happy Thanksgiving, Daniel.
Happy Thanksgiving.
I need to make pies.
Yeah.
I need to go home and now make a bunch of pies for Thanksgiving.
Are you going to add those to the web store? Can people get
I will not be adding those to the web store. If you spend $1,000, you get a pie. No. All right. And it's dinner time in Australia.
Yeah.
Well, have a good dinner, Brian. And Scott Everts, thanks for showing up. I'm sorry you waffled. Hopefully you can rewind and see the stuff you missed. And thanks everybody for joining us. And if we don't see you before, the holiday season goes into full effect, then Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you and you and you and you. And we'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you well. Happy gaming.
Bye, everybody.